Hi guys, this is Peter from Digital Wealth Group, and today we're going to be looking at the entire crypto market, and we're also going to be doing a review of BTC. We're going to be focusing on the following time frames: the very short term, the medium term, and the long term view. And we're going to be answering some very important questions. Are we at the top of this market? How far could we crash? And when should we consider taking profits? Okay, I'm going to move to the charts now, and we're going to start off on the total crypto market cap chart. So this chart is a chart what represents the full 8,500 cryptocurrencies. So this is the entire market. And right now we're looking at the monthly chart, which is essentially the long-term chart, which I refer to as the long term. And looking at it right now, as you can see, we're sitting at around $1.7 trillion in terms of the entire market cap. And right now we are about 72% away from the long-term 20 monthly moving average line. As you can see, this moving average line, this is a 20 monthly moving average line. 72% away from it, so we are fairly overextended. We're also around 91 on the monthly RSI. We have been as high as 96 previously in the last bull market. We actually went for a double test of 96. We went up to 96, then we corrected about 77% once we hit 96 on the monthly RSI, and then we went back and tested 96 again. So we essentially had a bull market, then a bear market, which was about a 77% bear market, and then we went for another bull market up to 96, and then we went for a long-term bear market, as you can see there, and basically bottoming out at 105 billion market cap there, as you can see where I've got that support line. So I like to answer this question. A lot of people ask me, where do I feel the market is at the moment? How far can we potentially run? Well, as you can see, we're 91 right now on the monthly. We have been as high as 96. So we could potentially go to 96 again. With all the institutional money coming into this market, it's hard for me to, not believe that we wouldn't go back to at least 96 again, considering the last bull market was retail driven. And so also you'll see this range here. I've got 457 days. So the last bull market, when the actual bull market started, we started the monthly white zone here, and we essentially didn't get out of the monthly white zone for 457 days. And so far we're approximately, if I just drag this in, we're roughly 120 days in. So we're only 4 months into this bull market. So we could run like we did back in 2017, and we could run a full 457 days. So the longer we spend in this monthly white zone, the higher the total market cap chart will go, and the higher the price of Bitcoin will go also. But in terms of are we currently overextended? We are starting to get into the real high levels. So once you start cracking 90 on a monthly RSI, this is when real FOMO starts to kick in. And you're in a higher probability of getting a blow off top. So there is a bit of caution around here. I certainly wouldn't be recommending FOMOing in right now into new positions, because as you can see, we're so far away from the middle monthly Bollinger, which is a long-term average line, and we will come back to this monthly moving average line eventually. Once this bull market finishes, we'll come back and retest the monthly again. This won't be the last time. We won't go back down to that line. So that's the monthly. That's a long term. Also, just why I'm on this chart as well on the monthly, I just I will I'll go to the weekly now as well, just so so that's the long term. The month is the long term. The weekly is the midterm. I call it the midterm. So right now we've had this trend line going up. We recently hit 1.7 trillion, and we're testing that resistance again. And on the weekly, we're still very far away from the middle Bollinger also. However, the RSI is looking a bit better. We're only about 76, so we're not as overextended like we are on the monthly. So the midterm is looking a little bit better. If I then move onto the daily, which is the short term, you can see that trend line quite nicely there. We were in a bit of a rising wedge up here, and we broke through 1.55 trillion, and now we've run up to retest that all-time high on the total market cap chart, being the 1.73 trillion. We're basically testing that right now. And on the daily chart, we're at 68, which is looking pretty good. So we got plenty to run here still. We could break this all-time high very soon. In fact, in the coming days, the MACD, you can see we've got very nice acceleration on the MACD. I'll just zoom that in. As you can see, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 consecutive days of acceleration. That's a very, very, very good signal when you see acceleration like that on the MACD. There's a high probability for that to have continuation. So that's really looking good. The daily is really looking good on the total market cap chart. And if we do peak out here in the short term, we've got some support at 1.55 trillion, and then the bigger support is basically where we intersect this trend line. This is your long-term trend line here on the daily, and that's at 1.3 trillion. So this is very, very strong support. As you see, the last correction, we went back and we wicked down, and we went back up a bit, and then we wicked down again, and we've bounced off that, and now we're testing all-time highs again. All right, so I'll now move on to the short term, very short term. So this is just the 4-hourly chart. Again, you can see that trend line a bit more clearly. You can see the all-time high there, and on the short term, we're about 64 on the RSI, and the MACD, is dripping down a little bit. As you can see, it's been dripping down a little bit, but that's not really nothing to be concerned of still, as we could see the daily, overrides the very short term, being the 4-hourly, and the daily we are still accelerating up. So, overall, the market is still looking good. I'll move on to the BTC chart now, and we'll go back to the monthly again, just so we start on the big picture, the long term. So looking at the monthly on BTC, and this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. So again, on the monthly, as you can see, we're massively overextended on the monthly, and you can see I'll just draw back to we're roughly about 71% from the long-term middle Bollinger, which is again the 20 monthly moving average line. Again, we'll come back to test this at some stage in the future. We'll definitely come in and test it in the next bear market. Everything always goes back to a monthly Bollinger. Any asset in the world, it's not just Bitcoin. Every asset in the world always goes back to the monthly Bollinger, and you can see. If you count how many candles, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're 11 candles away. 11 candles we since the last time we touched it. So the more candles we keep running, the higher the probability we'll eventually come back and test it. We can't just keep running away from the middle monthly Bollinger and never coming back to it. In fact, there's no market I know of, what goes for longer than a couple of years without going back and testing the long-term middle Bollinger, excuse me. So again, on the RSI for Bitcoin, we're at 91.39. We're getting into, again, really in the overextended, FOMO area here. Once we kind of get into the 90s, high 90s, this is start to be a bit of caution. As you can see, this is the Bitcoin chart from BTC, from Bitstamp, which is the second longest serving exchange in the world, behind Mt. Gox. As you know, Mt. Gox collapsed, so Bitstamp is still the longest serving exchange today. And you can see again, the first two bull markets, we hit 96, and that was the top. 96, the top. The last bull market, we hit 96 here. We didn't hit 96 here. We almost came up to 96, about 95. We hit 96 here, and now we're at again 91.4. So, this is just, for me, 96 is a really important level on the monthly RSI, not just for Bitcoin, but also for the total market cap chart. So, essentially what happens to Bitcoin will happen to the entire market. As you know, Bitcoin's the king, and it makes up, well over 60% of the entire crypto market right now. The dominance is around 62%. So only 38% is made up by altcoins. So Bitcoin still has the market share. So really what Bitcoin does, generally the entire market eventually follows. So yeah, we are getting quite top heavy at the moment on the monthly chart. I definitely would be being a bit cautious, especially once we get into the really high 90s. Taking some profits once we get past like 95, 96 wouldn't be a bad thing based on the probabilities. If we can see on this chart, we've hit 96 in the last three bull markets, this bull market, and that bull market in 2013. So it's 2013, the 2004, late 2013 bull market, the 2017 bull market, and the 2019, 2020 and 21 bull market we're in at the moment. So really the bull market started in around October last year when we first entered the monthly white zone. That's when really and basically breaking 13.8k technically was the real start of the bull market last year. As you can see there, when we did hit 20k in the previous bull market, they were just wicks. So that's not really the true reflection of the price, because that price did not last above 13.8k for longer than a few weeks. In fact, we didn't even get a full monthly candle. We only, top of the candle was exactly at 13.8k, and that's basically the start of when the bull market was last year. So that's the monthly, guys. As I said, it's getting a little bit overextended. I definitely will be considering taking a good chunk of profits once we get to 96. Again here with the 365 days, I just wanted to also highlight that you would have seen in the reason why I've got 365 days here is in the previous 2017 bull market. If I just show you here, the top was 96. That's like this candle here where we wicked up to 20,000, and that was just a week. The top of the candle was 13,800, as I mentioned before. But that bull market was essentially 365 days from the start of the monthly white zone to the top, to the top of the monthly candle, which was the 20k week. 365 days. So if we repeated the length of the bull market of what we did in 2017, then we're not even halfway in yet. If we use the same 365 days, the top would be around the 1st of October this year. So we've still, as I said, we're not even halfway in yet if we follow the same duration. However, this bull market has been a lot more explosive. As you can see, we haven't had any corrections. We've literally just gone from 70 all the way to 91 without even a dip in the monthly RSI, which is a concern to me because we're so far away from that middle Bollinger. And when you're so far away, 71%, it is cause for concern a little bit. So definitely, if we run all the way to 96, I think it would be a wise move to definitely take a good portion of your portfolio off the table and take some profits wait for this monthly RSI to cool off, or and come down a bit before possibly re-entering again. So that's my view at the moment on the monthly. I'm just going to go quickly on the weekly, which is the midterm. On the midterm, we're at 74 on the RSI. Middle Bollinger is not too bad. We've just cracked this 30k, which is a very strong support. We're now 32k on the Middle Bollinger, which is good. Middle Bollinger is slowly catching up, but it is still quite far away. Price is at 56k at the moment, and the Middle Bollinger is at 32k. The MACD is looking good. That's rising up not quite nicely. And yeah, as you know, we've got the all-time high resistance at 58k, support at 44.5k, and if we break that, then we've got support at 40k, and then the real big support here also at 30k at this stage. So they're your three big support levels. I'm moving back to the daily, which is the short term. Short term is looking good, and again, BTC has got excellent acceleration. As you can see, the bars are just consecutive pulling in. Very good. The daily is looking very good. There's a good chance, guys, we will break this all-time high this month. I am actually expecting Bitcoin to break 58k this month, based on what I'm seeing on the charts. Bitcoin's looking really, really good. It's looking strong. I'll just go back to the short-term, very short-term chart, which is the 4 hourly. Let's just have a quick look at that. That's also looking quite good. So we are, as I said, you can see that very strong support there. And even if we just trade between 44.5 and 58,000, this big range for the next few weeks, and just let the moving averages catch up on the daily and the weekly. That's very healthy accumulation for this market to continue higher. Also, just before I finish on this chart, I also wanted to show you the log chart on Bitcoin. So what I'll do is I'll just remove these Bollingers, so the chart's a little bit cleaner, and I'll change this to log. And we'll go to the weekly, just so you can see the log chart. Okay. And I'll just... it's just freezing a little bit there. Just bear with us, guys. Let me just adjust this. Okay, so this is the log chart. Bitcoin log chart on the weekly time frame, and as you can see, it's quite a powerful chart. We've respected this bottom band here quite well, and this has been always an incredible buying opportunity. You can see all this accumulation through here, through 2012 to 2013. Then we had that first bull market, which took us up to this upper band, and then back down, and then we went back up again, the next leg up in the bull market. So it was like it was not small, but it was a bear market here, just a very short bear market. It didn't take that long, but it was quite deep. It was, as I said, 77%. And then we went up for another bull market, went into this upper band, and then went back down to the lower band, and this beautiful accumulation, just respecting in this band. Then we had the 2017 bull market, then the bear market, and now we've broken out of the bands, and I'll just show you. And we're basically, right now, as you know, we're at 56,000 on Bitcoin, and the middle band here is at 40,000, which we've just broken. And just to answer one of these questions I had here, are we at the top of the market? Well, where could we potentially run to? Well, we could also run, as I mentioned, we could run to the 96 on the RSI, which that 96 could happen in a week. It could also happen, it might not hit for another 3 or 4 months. Obviously, the longer it takes to hit 96, the higher the price of Bitcoin will be. So it would be better if it hits 96 later. The longer it spends in the monthly white zone, the higher the price. So, where could we potentially run to? Well, looking at this log chart, we could potentially run, where we are at the top right now, the top of the channel was $153,000, and obviously this goes higher as the time goes on. So, I had, if we followed basically the similar timeframes of the last bull market, where we spent the 365 days it took from the start of the monthly RSI to the peak of the market, that took us to about the 1st of October this year. So you can see the 1st of October, well, this is that's around a $200,000 Bitcoin, and that kind of lines up with a lot of the top analysts were predicting. So it's quite interesting how well that plays out. So this is where this market could potentially go in this bull market we're in. We could go all the way up to potentially $200,000. Without, of course, we're going to have, not just going to go straight up there. There's going to be some corrections. But we'll just have to see how this plays out. Do we just continue all the way higher without a proper cool off on the monthly RSI, and do we just head all the way up to 96? Then there would be a higher probability that we probably wouldn't hit 200k, because we would top out much sooner. Generally, when you have such a fast move, it's not sustainable. So it'd be better that we hover around in the monthly RSI longer, so we could where we could potentially go up to this 200k, 1st of October, kind of 365 days to repeat the distance of what happened in the 2017 bull market. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to give you my view. I'll just check that I've answered these questions. So, are we at the top of the market? As I said, we are quite overextended. Really watch that 96 level on the monthly RSI. As I said, I would be, I definitely will be taking some profits myself, because from a probability point of view, there's a very high probability the market could top out there, or at minimum have a pretty serious correction. And how far could we crash? Well, I covered those 3 support lines. We could go all the way down to 44.5 on Bitcoin, and then down to 40 potentially, and then there's another support line at around 30,000. But I'm not kind of seeing that at the moment. I think the market's going to push higher. We are kind of getting into the parabolic side of the market, and the FOMO side. I think once we break 60k, retail FOMO will really start to come in. And should we consider taking profits? Well, once we get a bit higher in the monthly white zone, I would definitely start to look at taking some profits. Once we get into 95, 96 on a monthly, that would be a very good time to start taking profits based on the probabilities. So guys, I hope I've answered, I hope I've given you some insight today on, on these 2 charts. And I'll be back again for another video shortly. Thank you for your time. See ya.